Just sharing with you guys this small trick. So this is the tie rod. This is actually the knot that separates the inner and outer tie rod. Maybe you are adjusting the geometry, maybe you are replacing a tie rod. This is actually a pipe wrench that you can buy from any hardware store, and it's actually surprisingly cheap. So this one, perhaps you are going to pay $15–20. This I'll show you in a moment. I'll remove it from there. So this thing, it's actually brutal, and what's even more a good thing is that it can grip even if the bolt here has been rounded. It has just a special slide grip that grips in anything. One other advice, really pay attention the way these tightens and untightens. So just imagine you are sitting here, you are looking like this. Clockwise it's tighten, counterclockwise untighten, and the same idea on the other way. Well, just imagine you are sitting here, you are looking like this. Pay really attention which way you untighten. So this one, left well, is going to untighten like this. Remember this thing on the other side, on the right well, is going to untighten like that. So just try to imagine you are looking from here towards the exterior of the car. Important, so you don't actually tighten it instead of untighten. So let me just present you this pipe, which is actually not a car tool, it's not a mechanic's tool. This is for piping. The guy who's doing the piping in your home, your sink, is going to use one of these beasts. Now this one, it's a little bit a big one, 18 inches. I think it is going to give you much more leverage, but also it has less space of rotation in there. I think at 16 inches perhaps is going to have about the same leverage, but it's going to be easier to work with it. It requires less space. So look at my hand, this thing is big. I mean, this is brutal, and it doesn't look like, but the way it grips in here is not just like this, it actually has a kind of shear grip. That's why it grips, and it can grip even on round pipes. Even if the bolt is rounded, it can grip it with really strong force. I cannot really explain you that. It's like it has kind of a rotating movement, and that's how it grips anything that's even rounded. So it's pretty brutal. It's massive also. Basically, I think you can kill a bear with this.
Now there is a few important things before you start this job. The first thing is you need to be careful. If you apply too much torque on this knot here, that will also apply a lot of torque on the seals inside the steering rack, which is usually power assisted with fluid inside. Too much torque and too much low pressure downwards or upwards can damage the seals inside the steering rack, and the steering rack may start leaking. Keep this in mind. So it's really, I will leave it up to you to judge how much pressure can you apply on the nut if it's a stock nut. Usually you should also counter hold the steering rack from rotating, from applying too much pressure on the seals. So really, if you have the seals leaking, you understand what kind of expense that is. You need to replace the rack, the steering rack completely, or at least rebuild it. So that's a big job. Sometimes you need to, oftentimes actually, you need to lower the front subframe with the engine to remove the steering rack from this. So I'm just really warning you on this point. I cannot tell you how much force the steering rack can tolerate, but keep this in mind. Also, too much force may bend the small ball joint on the outer tie rod. Especially, I think the genuine one should be strong enough, but maybe an aftermarket one with softer metal may bend the small ball joint here, and that may affect the steering feeling and also the geometry and the tire wear. Keep these things in mind. With this in mind, hopefully you understand what I'm saying here. Let's just move to another thing here. This range works only one way. So in the video I show the range like this on the left well, tie rod on the left well, and that to release the knot here on the left well you need to push down on the range. Now you cannot, if you imagine this position, you cannot push upwards on this range. It works only on rotating, when rotating it, if it sits like this, clockwise. It cannot rotate counter. I mean, you can always rotate it counterclockwise. It's not going to grip at all. Zero grip. The grip works only when rotating from this position clockwise. Don't ask me why. You will see in your real life why, but that's how it works, this kind of sliding grip thing. So for this reason, when you go on the right well, you need to keep the range upside down like this and to push upwards to release the knot on the tie rod on the right well. And always you use this range only to release the knot, right? So when you tighten the knot back in place, you use your regular range. Let me just give you a few more warnings. First, make sure there is no grease on the knot or even oil, because that range is not flat, is not gripping flat on surfaces here. It really has to grip with those teeth, and it bites into metal, and if there is grease, oil, it's just going to destroy the surface here. And this is another downside. If you apply too much force and it slips on the knot, so in this image, just forget about the square part here. Imagine it doesn't exist. I've never seen something like this. I'm talking about the knot here, the hex knot. So if that range slips on the hex knot, it's going to damage the surface here, and you may no longer be able to put your regular range on the knot. Keep this in mind. You may want to grab a file, resurface the surfaces. The angle is not easy here, so just keep this downside in mind. Also, let me just add one last thing. This area here is so exposed to water. If you are in salt belt area, to salt, anything, the way this gets stuck in there is actually when the knot is tightened, you still have threads exposed here, and there is going to be, basically imagine it's like tiny channels that go underneath the knot. Those threads are not sealed here. That's how the water gets underneath, not just on this knot, on anything else on the cars. It goes through the, actually there is two openings, I think, by the threads near the knot. The water gets underneath. If there is even salt, it gets underneath. It's stuck, it's rust inside, and it gets not stuck, seized. So one thing that you may want to do, I've never done it, I may make a video in the future if I will do it, just throw this suggestion out there. Give it a try if you want. I don't think there is any risk, but just keep in mind to protect this area from future water splash, salt, and everything. What you may try is grab a piece of saran wrap. So that's a kitchen wrap, right? But grab a thick, strong one, not a cheapo one. The original saran wrap is pretty strong, so it has to be strong. Cut it long, about this long, and wrap it 4 or 5 times here. It doesn't have to be super tight, but try to wrap it tight, and then use something like zip ties to secure the wrap in several places, so it doesn't, there is no section of the wrap that flips like this. So try to secure it like this in several places with zip ties. I would say perhaps 4 or 5 zip ties should be enough, and especially at the ends, try to secure it so there is no water getting inside. That's the whole idea. And I think it's going to hold. I'm guessing these parts don't rotate, there's no impacts, nothing. This here does rotate at high speed, but it should not grab the saran wrap. If it grabs it, if it's not properly secured, then you may get a problem. If it wraps around the boat here, maybe it can tear the, I don't think it's that strong. One of the problems that may happen, if it detaches from here, it may grab around the ABS sensor on the well, on the wires. So there is a tiny chance that it will be damaged, may tear or torn the wires or so. There is a slight chance, but I think if you secure it properly and it's a quality saran wrap, is not going to detach from there. That's just a guess, right? No, I didn't test it at this point, but I'm giving you a suggestion to protect water from getting in there, to prevent any future not being stuck in there.